97.1 FM The Drive, Chicago's classic rock, Sherman and Tingle. We are joined by a very special guest here today from Circa Sports. We got Mike Palm, the Vice President of Operation at Circa Sports. And you know what? You had just mentioned right before we came on that you once lived in, was it Munster?
Munster, yeah.
Munster,
Indiana.
How did you go from Munster and then going to Las Vegas and working with Derek Stevens?
Tell us that trick.
Well, let's go before Munster if we have time.
Yeah,
I know
in
radio all you have is time. But
no, we're good.
I was born in Dubuque, Iowa. Graduated from Waller High School. Went to the University of Notre Dame. Was in the seminary program there for 2 years. Decided I want to have my own kids, which happened 30 years later. But I went back to Iowa. Taught in a Catholic school. Was making $16,800 a year teaching and coaching 3 sports. Started dealing poker in the summers. And I made more in 2.5 months dealing poker than I did teaching for 9 months, and gravitated to the casino industry. Worked in Iowa, came to Northwest Indiana, was showboating in Harrah's there for almost 8 years. Went out to Atlantic City for a year, came back, worked at Potawatomi in Milwaukee. Met a guy working with me in Milwaukee who had worked in Las Vegas and was going back to Vegas. He said, "Why don't you take a shot? If you're going to stay in this industry, you got to try to come to Vegas and make it in Vegas." Moved to Vegas in 2005. Worked at the Palms. I worked at MGM Grand. Eventually, I went to work for Fitzgerald's in downtown Las Vegas because the GM was my GM back at Harrah's in East Chicago. I knew him. He hired me to open a poker room there. In 2011, Derek Stevens buys Fitzgerald's, makes it the D, builds Circa, and the story goes from there. So.
That's from seminary to casino.
Yeah, from seminary to casino.
That's a great story.
You don't get that very often. That you started there and then you wind up in Las Vegas. What an amazing travel that you've gone through. What is like the perks? Because we see movies. Let's, for instance, like the movie Casino. Mm-hmm. How accurate is that movie, the depiction of it today?
Well, that's from an era when, what do you say, the outfit back here, but, the mob controlled a lot of the casinos in Las Vegas, and now they're basically large corporations that control the majority of them. I'm lucky I get to work for a single owner in Derek. We just have a lot more flexibility.
He's not like Sam Rothstein?
Well, no, not exactly like Sam. Not exactly like Sam.
He ain't afraid to beat somebody, though.
But, working for a single owner, we have the ability to make decisions. It doesn't have to go through 8 committees before we decide to try something, right?
Yeah.
And He's done a lot of things, built an outside bar on Fremont Street. It was tremendously successful. Other people are trying to replicate that. Stadium swim at Circa. You've been there.
Awesome.
It's an amazing experience. It's a
the
pool.
TVs while you're watching pool,
but
just
with the
nonstop
sports
action.
Team, right?
Yeah.
He loved going to pools. He would go to different pools in Vegas in the summer and take different groups of the employees all the time. And he always hated the fact that he could
What's wrong here?
Why can't I watch the game that I just bet $10,000 on while I'm drinking and in the pool?
Yeah.
And so he built that experience. Obviously, our sports book at Circa is the largest in the world. And we're really excited that we're bringing our brand to Illinois now.
Let's go back to, from the very basics. Yeah. Circa. Mm-hmm. Where did that name come from? Why Circa?
So it's interesting. We actually hired a firm out of San Diego called 1650 that came up with that name for us. We tried ourselves to come up with a name. Derek said he studied names of businesses, and there's 2 criteria to businesses that succeeded. It has to have 2 syllables, and it has to have an R in it.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so right away, I stood up, I raised my hand, I said, how about hubris? I mean, we think we're going to build this mega resort, but
sure,
that didn't go over. But they came up with Circa, which, means of a certain period, and it's really a tribute.
Like Circa Day.
Yeah, it's really a tribute to the different eras of Las Vegas. Up at the Legacy Club, which is our rooftop bar, we have the busts of all the guys that sort of made Las Vegas, from, Jay Sarno, Howard Hughes, Kurt Kerkorian, and it's a tribute to the era of Vegas gone by, where you can still walk into a joint and find the owner at the end of the bar and shake his hand and have a beer with him.
Do they let you gamble if you are there? I can't imagine. They would look goofy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden that you walk away here, you're the vice president of operations, I'm a millionaire now.
I cannot gamble there, obviously.
Yeah.
People that are of a certain level can't gamble there. People that are in the table games can't gamble in table games. But, a lot of our frontline employees can gamble. They just can't gamble on jackpots, the progressive jackpots. They can get into our football contests, which many of them do. Our valets are pretty sharp sports guys. They all pool their money together, and they're in the Survivor contest and the Circa Millions. It's pretty cool.
Now, why Circa here? Of all places, why here?
Well, so we started out in Nevada, obviously. We're in Colorado, mobile only,
4
on the
states,
phone.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is the fourth state. We're in Iowa, my home state, right next door, and now into Illinois. We've been targeting for about 2 years trying to get into Illinois and trying to partner with someone where we could have a retail presence and try to replicate that experience you have in the sports book out in Nevada. And so we partnered with Full House, and then, getting the technology to come to Illinois, working with the Illinois Gaming Board. It's been a process, but, the temporary's open in Waukegan.
I'm sure that, exactly.
A lot of dotting I's and crossing T's, but we made it, and we soft launch Friday, and then we're having our official grand opening tomorrow in Waukegan. Brian Urlacher will be there, and we hope to have a ton of folks come out to American Place.
That's awesome.
Well, it's going to be great. And thank you for being a part of our punt, pass, and pick games as well, sponsoring that. So you can find him. Hey, thank you so much for coming in here today. The VP of Operations, Mike Palm.
Mike Palm.
With Circa Sports. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It was great to be on the drive. Thanks, Mike.